Okay, so hello and welcome everyone. It's been a while since the last one. Feels like a very long time. So yeah, thanks for joining us in what is probably a new time slot for us. We will be experimenting this, and we'll talk about that more in a moment. We will get started shortly. Just give a few minutes to everyone to let them join. Don't think anyone bothers joining calls on time anymore. I think for anyone on the call who works for me, I think they'll be laughing at how sadly accurate that actually is. But once people do sort of filter in, I think we're getting a few more sort of coming and going in now. Anyone new to basically the ProductTank, and hopefully we've got some old faces as well. But essentially, we've been running this for the past, well, this sort of trio that we have here for the past year now. It's been in a remote format. This is a live YouTube broadcast, but it will be available just to watch back once we're finished as well. So if you do need to drop, that's fine. You can always come back and actually see what you've missed. We do encourage you all to interact as much as possible via YouTube. But we do have the comment section. You'll see just hopefully on your YouTube screen there. Post in any questions, any discussions you have. Just pop into the comment section and we will get back to you as well. Like I said, this is our first time doing a lunchtime slot and a Friday slot as well. So thank you all for sort of taking your time out to share your lunch with us. We have something nice. I actually am pretty hungry. I'm going to save mine until afterwards. So if anyone does have any recommendations for anywhere in Ballyhack, put that in the comment section as well. But we'll get started in a little moment. To sort of on that point of around what we will be doing for the rest of the year, we will be trying out some new days, different times, themes, and sort of formats for this year. So do definitely give us feedback on that. Otherwise, we'll just end up doing whatever we want, and that's not really what we sort of want to have with this sort of product type community that we have. But I will get us kicked off here. We've got a few more of us in, so hopefully that will be a good time to start. Before I do, though, I just want to mention that, again, the whole ethos of ProductTank is that we want to have speakers. We don't want it just to be us talking every time, and for the large part, it hasn't been that. We want local speakers as well. It's definitely, last year, we spent a lot of time embracing the advantages of working remotely, and we got a lot of good international speakers, and Graham will talk about that a bit more later, but really want to sort of have more local speakers, and with that also hosts. Hopefully we'll be moving towards actually having some in-person events. So definitely anyone who wants to host, anyone who wants to sponsor events, we'll also be looking out for those as well. So do get in touch. And on that, if you're free to get in touch with, or myself, there's Eilish as well, and also Graham. So definitely feel free to get in touch with any of us. But with that, I will hand you over to Eilish, and she's going to walk you through a little recap of what we did for the past 12 months.
So hi everyone. So as the first sort of meetup of 2022, we thought we would go through a year in review and look at all of everything that we've learnt and went over in the last year. So in December 2020, Graham, who is co-founder of ProductTank Belfast, sort of said, we haven't had a ProductTank in a while, and he reached out to Stephen and myself to come and help him co-organise ones for the next year. So we were definitely happy to do that, and we did set out in the hope that we would do around one a month. So we did 8 events, 6 of which were remote. So in February, we had our first one. We had Mark Abraham, who had a book out called Managing Product Equals Managing Tension. So he led a panel of both international and if I am coughing, I'm sorry, I do have COVID. You can't catch it, I promise. But so he led a panel of both international and local speakers to chat around how do they manage tension day to day. And then in March, we were lucky enough to have on David Bland, who is the co-writer of Test Business Ideas. So we went over the business model canvas, and also just different types of experiments that you can run that are lean for you to be able to test out business ideas in your own organization. And then in April, we had on James Nelson, Kyle Higginson, and Emma Miller, and they were local speakers that we're chatting about, because they are both an engineer, a designer, and also a product manager, how do they work together to do continuous discovery within their organization? Then May was a really exciting month because it was World Product Day. So we teamed up with both ProductTank Cork and ProductTank Dublin to put on an event around AI and product, because product management has to change to take into account data and AI products, and there's a bit of a different approach. So it was about how can you go about being a product manager for these types of products. Then in June, we were looking at, we had Gibson Biddle on. He was a lot of crack. He was the XVP of Netflix for product, and he went over different product strategy frameworks, and he used Netflix as an example. And there was the willing victims of Alison Coote and Emma Mulholland and myself that he sort of bounced ideas off. So that was good fun as well. So August, we had two different events. So we had the ethics workshop, which was our first in-person event of 2021, which was really exciting. So we had on Brona Smith, who did a talk on the importance of ethics, and we did a practical workshop around the different types of harm and how to prevent them in our own products, and how you can run those workshops whenever you're kicking off a product, or even in the middle of one as well. And then later on that month, we had on Teresa Torres as world expert on continuous discovery. So she gave a load of really valuable techniques. I was actually watching it again last week. It really is a brilliant talk. And then in November, we had our second in-person event, which was the design sprint. So how to go about testing business ideas in 5 days. So that was facilitated by myself, and it was brilliant. We basically tried to do like a 5-day sprint in 2 hours. So it was really intense, but I felt like people got a lot out of it. So yeah, that was the year in review. So if you're looking at anything and you're thinking, oh, I really wish I was there, that's really relevant to what I'm doing right now, you can just, 6 out of 8 of these are on YouTube. So you can just look up ProductTank Belfast and they'll all come up, and I'll also be posting them on Twitter and LinkedIn over the next month or so that you can go in and watch those. So yeah, on to the next slide. So the year in numbers. So it was really great that we were able to have so many international speakers, and mainly that was because of the remote nature of a lot of our meetups. So 63% were actually international speakers, and people were able to go back, and because they were remote, go back and actually watch those clips again. So we've had over 4,000 people actually view the videos back, which just shows that people are sort of viewing things in different ways. And we might want to experiment with hybrid events, for instance, even for those in-person ones, to give you that opportunity to watch from afar. And then it meant that we were able to actually have people come to the meetups that aren't necessarily local. So we had a 29% increase in meetup signups. We had 184 new LinkedIn followers and 620 new Twitter followers. Also, usually what we would do with in-person events is we raise a little bit of sponsorship money to sort of get pizza and beers and all have a bit of crack at the start of each of these events, which we did do for our 2 in-person events. But those that were remote, we thought this is a great opportunity to still raise that sponsorship money and give it to charity. So thanks to those local companies, we were able to give £1,600 to charity this year. And it was really great when we were sort of saying, oh, I wonder how many female speakers we have this year. And whenever we worked it out yesterday, I couldn't believe it was exactly 50% female speakers. So that's really great to see that representation and for those female speakers to put themselves forward. So we'd really encourage you to continue to do that. And then I also see 784 lateral flow tests. So Stephen, I don't know where you got this exact number from, but it does sound quite accurate.
That was mainly just my English, but thought I would just let everyone know just how precautious I was.
So I think it's over to you, Stephen, isn't it?
It is indeed, Thank you, Elish. So as part of a recap, trying to make it a little bit more interactive, we are going to do it in a quiz style. So if you, hopefully, one of the events we did last year, we used Slido, and it's basically, it's very, very simple. You can either use the QR code if you can figure out how to do that. You're a better person than me if you can. Alternatively, just type in Slido into your browser, and it will prompt you for a PIN. There's a 6-digit PIN, and that's it. We will be giving a prize to the winner of the quiz. It's a little bit of fun, but essentially what we will be doing at the end is that we will have a prize that I'll try to build some suspense, and I won't tell you what the prize is yet, but it's a relatively decent prize. So I'll give it a few moments just to let people join. Hopefully we'll see a few join in a moment. Like I said, any trouble there. Actually, what I will do is I will also put the link in, just because it's a nice guy. The link is in the comments as well. So there you go. So a few people are now coming in. Just to get us started, sort of test out to see if you can work Slido okay. We are sort of a question, sort of reflect on the theme of reflecting on last year. How would you describe your last year? Opportunity. That's definitely someone with the glass half full there. Sort of definitely an opportunity indeed. Long, busy, turbulent, weird, housebound. That definitely sums up just Eilish this week, I think, with having COVID. So I think we've pretty much got the hang of this now. So I will get us started then. So, join a quiz. You can see I'm very keen. I've already joined. But if anyone else, just to join the quiz, just pop in your name, and then we will get started. That's a relief. Thought I was going to win the quiz myself, which would have been pretty sad. Although the prize is that good that I wouldn't mind winning the prize myself. Okay, let's give it a little second just to give it a chance. Okay. The questions will be based on the events over the past 12 months. That is the different meetup events that Eilish was talking about, really just sort of picking out some of the key themes and some of the key takeaways to sort of test your knowledge on it. And also to see if you've been paying attention so far. There's a couple of questions about some of those numbers that Eilish just referred to. Okay, and I will get started now. So, say that. There we go. So, to kick things off then, Eilish talked about how we had over 4,000 views for our events last year. However, which of those got the most views? Well, these were the three main international speakers that we had last year. All were extremely popular, but we're keen to see which of those you thought was the most popular. So, in a second, I will fly through this, guys, don't worry. So get your answers in quickly, and there we go. Most of you went for Gibson's Biddle Netflix strategy, which is correct. Was indeed. I think Gibson had just over 1,700 views from memory, so definitely seemed to be the most popular one. So, next question. Which month saw our most signups on Meetup? This will be the last of our sort of reflecting on how we did last year, but last year we definitely seen a big spike in our Meetup signups, which was great. I think sort of new world of Belfast ProductTank. It's good to see an increase in those joining us. So I'll close this quiz off now. A little bit lighthearted, but it does count towards that prize at the end. Oh, did I set it for June? And I believe, yes, June was the correct answer, actually. It all got inspired by the summer lockdown, or the summer sort of lockdown release, and you all joined up. So thank you for that. Okay, so this really takes us into recapping on the events that we had over the past 12 months. This one kicked off, as Eilish mentioned, in February with Mark Abraham, and he was discussing his book, Managing Product is Managing Tension. So which of the three below is not one of the three core components that Mark refers to in his book? I'll give you a moment just to answer that, and then I'll close that. Okay, so I'm just going to get your answers in 3, 2, 1. There we go. So everyone went for the market that the product exists within, and these are all very clever. There we go. That was the correct answer. So then in March, we had David Bland talking about testing business ideas. Which type of experiment do we imitate product features by executing tasks manually with the customer fully aware that the features are being mimicked by a person? You always made this question slightly tricky by having a couple of similar experiments here. So I'll just close this.
Really wordy.
Thanks, Elias. Okay, I'll close this question in 3, 2, and 1. A bit of a split here. I think, yes, the majority of you got that right. Concierge. I'm trying to avoid saying the word concierge because I can't say it, but it turns out I did practice beforehand, so I got it nailed. Okay, so following on with David Bland's book, what are the 3 types of experiments, hypothesis, another word that I struggle with, thank you, Elish, that are represented within the lean canvas? This one is hopefully a little bit easier than the previous question. But I'll put that question out in 3, 2, and 1. Okay, I think the majority of us got that one. You did indeed. So just a little check in then to see what the leaderboard is, and Laura is so far. Oh, Laura and Emer actually are leading the way. Very good.
Woo-woo.
So this one, this is back to our All Ireland World Product Day that we had, and where we were discussing AI product management. So within that talk, we talked about the differences between AI product and normal, in quotes, product management, and which 2 additional cross-functional stakeholders were highlighted as needing consideration. Okay, pleased to see that all of you got that one correct. It's definitely to bring in both the data engineers and data science. And then adding on to that as well, we also found out that their skill sets for AI product managers is perhaps a little bit more different than your average product manager. And so we are asking here, which of the below skill sets are needed to be required for that rather niche product management role? I'll close that question out in 3, 2, and 1. There we go. Majority of us got that one right. I'm delighted that I'm not an AI product manager. I'm to get all those skills. Okay, so this one then, we're moving on to the Gibson Biddle's Netflix strategy. This was one of the use cases that Gibson talked about, and it's basically around the auto cancellation feature that Netflix were debating whether not to use, whereby they auto cancel all of their inactive users as part of their strategy. So I'll pose this question out in 3, 2, and 1. And yes, you all got the answer right. Netflix opted for not quite the altruistic approach as it looks like on paper, but it was a very successful brand exercise whereby this got picked up by a lot of news outlets, and yeah, it was a very clever strategy by Netflix. Gibson then also talked about the GEM product strategy framework that he is a large proponent of. But what does the GEM stand for in GEM? Slightly trickier question, but I'll close that question out in 3, 2, and 1. Nobody fell for my little dummy one at the end there, to see, but I think most of you got the question right there. So well done. It is indeed grow, engage, and monetize. So we then had the Do No Harm workshop later in the year, and within that we learned about the 3 types of harm that Spotify recommends, including within your ethics assessment. But what are those 3 types of harm? Financial, physical, emotional, or societal? Oh, I see, Charlie, I am too trigger happy closing out the vote, so I will give you another second. Okay, so I'm going to close the question in 3, 2, and 1. Go. And what is the answer? It is physical, emotional, societal, financial. We don't care about in ethics, so slight joke. Okay, so a little check-in on the leaderboard, and Laura is now outright leader, but Chris has jumped a little bit. See, and Orla and Ivan also make up the top 5 as well. So we'll kick on. So as Elish mentioned as well, later in the year we had Teresa Torres who kindly came in to talk about continuous discovery. She talked about different types and the best times to do it, and she outlined the most common and the easiest, in quotes, way of how to find participants to help with your continuous discovery. So is that just before they buy your product, while using your product or service, or after they have churned using your product or service? So slightly more tricky question, this one. But I'm going to just, in the interest of time, I'm going to close this out in 3, 2, and 1. So you all got it right indeed. So it is indeed whilst using your product or service. Well, worthwhile calling out though that whilst it might be the most common and easiest, it's certainly not necessarily the most valuable. Definitely from experience, folks, you definitely want to speak to anyone who's churning from your product or service. You're going to get some good feedback at that point. So easiest isn't always necessarily the best. Not that I'm disagreeing with Teresa, no, but it's just worthwhile calling out. And just following on that, Teresa also recommends that there's a certain cadence that is optimal for continue with that discovery method. And with that, really, she suggests that you should be at least striving to engage with your customers a certain amount of time. So 3 options there. Okay, and I'll close this off in just 3, 2, and 1. Majority of you got that one right there. And it is indeed at least once a week. I definitely hold my hand up and say I do not do that, but fair play to you if you do. Okay, so then, and sorry, there was one more question on Teresa Torres. She definitely was. There was a lot of very, very useful content that she was able to share with us. But last question that she here calls out is that there's a trio of roles that she believes should be the key decision makers when it comes to discovery. Which of those do we think it is? Probably depends largely on where you work. Your answer on this. It could all be right. Okay, so I'll skip forward, and you've all got that one correct. Well done. So, moving on to one of the last events of the year. Elish told us about the maximum number of people who should be in a design sprint. So, how many is it? And that is not counting those Ask the Experts that you have on that Monday session. Oops, sorry, I'm hiding the last value there. I definitely had to think hard about this one, Elish. This was a tricky question. Okay, so I'll close this question out in 3, 2, and 1. And it was a bit of a little trickier question, that one, but I believe it was the question I was hiding at the bottom, so I hope I didn't throw anyone off. Okay, and then just lastly, then just on the topic of the design sprints, which of the 3 situations, so there's a multiple choice this one, is the best time to run a design sprint? It probably depends on your definition of best time. Sometimes it's the only time that you can run it, but so hopefully that is enough time to answer. And we'll just close that question off in 3, 2, and 1. Go. So, yeah, I think everyone there got that right pretty much. Does indeed. So, that is the last of the questions. So, let's see who won the quiz. It looks like a slight tie. I think it is indeed, if I'm reading that correct. We had talked about this awkward situation I was hoping we would avoid, but Eilish has come up with a very clever way of doing this. We're not working on the fastest finger first approach, which I probably should have made clear at the beginning. So apologies, Emer, for that. We have a slightly more randomized way of doing this. So Eilish, I might pass over to you and therefore pass all responsibility and blame onto you for this. So
I know it's like so unfair.
yeah.
But can everybody see? I assume yes.
Yes, we can.
Hooray! Okay. So Chris, you are the winner. So yes. Oh God. Stop sharing. So do you want to show the prizes?
Yes, I will indeed. So there you go, Eilish. I'll let you take away.
Yes, so basically all of the books that were covered off in our different sessions, you get to pick one and we will send it out to you. So you can just like I know you, so just reach out to me and I'll get it sent out to you.
Okay, thank you, Eilish. Okay, well, that is all of the quiz recap done. So I'm going to hand you back over now to Eilish, who is going to, in the true retro style, cover off things that we have learned.
Yeah, absolutely. So stuff that worked well. So it was really nice getting some international speakers that was, given in the feedback from yourselves that you really enjoyed seeing, the likes of Gibson Biddle and Teresa Torres and David Bland, because you were able to ask direct questions around really experts in those particular fields. Having more interest from female speakers have been brilliant. So definitely do keep reaching out and keep representing. The design sprint workshop worked quite well. We got a lot of great feedback about it. I think at that stage, people were really keen to meet up in person and also to learn from other product managers and not necessarily just be presented to. Some of the other feedback that was given during that session is, wouldn't it be great to have more strictly social events so that we can network a bit more? So we're going to make an effort around that as well. And also whenever we do an in-person event, for it to not just necessarily be a talk, but be something that people can interact with, such as a workshop, to make it worthwhile for your journey as well. Stuff that didn't work so well in terms of like reacting to the pandemic, for instance, there was the Do No Harm workshop, which was an absolutely brilliant workshop. But the only thing was that because the numbers were going up with COVID, so many people were cancelling, and we probably should have just pulled it and said, let's not go ahead with this. I think we got about 15 people turned up on the day, but maybe if we had delayed it for a couple of weeks, we could have got 3 times as much. The other thing was having international speakers have been brilliant, but the only issue is they were on a book tour. So whenever we started to research some of these talks, the exact same talks were given on, say, ProductTank Birmingham or ProductTank Edinburgh. So you could have, seen the same talk without us necessarily having shown it. And that really drives home that we want to give local speakers the opportunity to speak a lot more and to hear from them and to hear about things that they've tried that worked and didn't work. So please do reach out because we would love to hear from you and for you to give a talk and to get involved. Also, I think there was a feedback survey that was before one of the talks and it went on for too long and people were not happy. The other thing was to make sure that we've got even representation from different organizations and not necessarily have one organization represented in a meetup, that if we're having a panel, to make sure that we've got lots of variety there so that we can learn from different aspects as well with some of the feedback that we got. So these are all things that we're going to take on board. So yeah, I'm going to pass over to Graham now to talk about this year's strategy. So
Thanks, Eilish. So our vision is to provide that thriving community for product people in Belfast and wider Northern Ireland. Working with the other product tank we have in Derry as well, and we want to help, I suppose, spread the message that a product management is very different to business analysis and project management. So that's still part of our vision of what we're trying to do. So for this year, we're going to aim to have one event per month. Now it may not be um, one every month, but we will aim to have 12 events throughout the year. We're gonna based on feedback, we're gonna look to have 2 social events as well, and that'll provide a little bit more variety in amongst the other talks. We're going to aim for more local and first-time speakers. And we appreciate that it's a big ask and it's a bit scary being a first-time speaker. But we'll do our best to help you prepare if you want to do that, or if you want to be on a panel, which is probably a little bit less of a lift than an actual talk, then please do get in touch. Or if you think there is somebody you feel would be really good for us to talk to, then please, the suggestions are really welcome. We're going to look at focusing on best practices and frameworks. So this is probably more actionable things. And probably the product community has changed since we started ProductTank Belfast. So we have a lot of new people, so we want to go on a little bit back to basics on some of those kind of frameworks, and we've got one in March that I'm going to talk about as well. And then we're looking to collaborate with other Belfast-based meetups. So if you're part of a meetup, or someone's in a meetup and you think there could be something we could do that would be pretty cool in the collaboration, then please feel free to send through your suggestions. We're definitely looking to provide more variety and different types of content, and different types of groups as well, and people. So in terms of, if you go to the next one, Stephen, please. In terms of the next events, so our next event is going to be late Feb, early March. The topic's going to be delighters. So if you look up delighters, you'll see how that's been popularized around. It's a factor in terms of when people build products. It's almost like a prioritization factor. And we've got a speaker that's going to do a great talk on that, which is a little bit different to what a lot of talks that we've seen before. We're also looking to have a panel, and the panel is hopefully going to look at what it's like to be a truly remote product manager. So that isn't necessarily being like a hybrid the way we all are at the moment. But it's more like you work in a very completely remote company, or you're completely remote and your company is based elsewhere. So if you do have experience that, or somebody could be a really good candidate for that, please do get in touch. And then in late March, as I said, we're trying to go back to basics on frameworks. So we're going to do a workshop on opportunity solution trees. And Eilish, who's so good at this, she's going to facilitate that event. And I know from personal experience, even in recent years, the opportunity solution trees are such a fantastic framework. It's so understandable for everyone. And I've seen other people, not product people, taking that and employing it into other parts of their roles. And then we'll look to have a social event. So we're trying to time this based on what we got right, what we didn't get right last year. And we think hopefully by late March, we should be good to have that in person, and hopefully we can have a few drinks and meet people face to face after that. So that's what we're planning for the rest of the quarter. So if you do have any suggestions on talks, if you want to speak, or you think you want to be in a panel, or somebody could be good at it, or you want to sponsor an event, or you want to provide a location, all of the above, we are more than willing to chat to whoever. What we're trying to do is just to create a number of events that are diverse, and they're different, right? So they're not just talks. So that's what we're trying to do for 2022. And thanks very much for everyone joining, and hopefully you have time now to get your lunch before your next meeting. Thanks a lot.